for the Americans is how French President Emmanuel Macron is phrasing it. French President Emmanuel Macron calling out Donald Trump for Trump's failures to respond to Putin, and Putin constantly humiliating him. You have headlines about the new Chancellor of Germany, Friedrich Merz, saying that Germany is eyeing the strongest EU army by 2031.
What happens when a politician's fully costed plan is riddled with holes? Andrew Neil didn't just expose the flaws in Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves' economic strategy, he turned it into a live spectacle. From calling out their reliance on monopoly money to dismantling promises with brutal facts, Neil left them with nowhere to hide. But was it their ambition or their math that failed them most? Stay tuned to see how projections fell apart under his scrutiny. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Imagine a political event where the attendees treat Trump like a rock star, except instead of singing hit singles, they're throwing out policy ideas that Putin would write the liner notes for. That's CPAC these days. A MAGA-palooza that's gone global, swapping out its classic American stage for international gigs in places like Hungary and Poland. Once upon a time, it was just a conservative conference here in the States. Now, it's more like a traveling circus with a red and white striped tent pitched on foreign soil, preaching the Trump gospel to anyone willing to listen. What's wild is how CPAC's international makeover seems tailor-made to prop up politicians with ties to Putin's regime. Take Poland, for example.
Chancellor Friedrich Merz plans to make his army the strongest conventional army in Europe. Other EU countries also have ambitious plans for their armed forces. What are you going to do about it? We are ready in France. We are ready in Europe. President Macron said, "What are you doing, Donald?" Meanwhile, you have President Zelensky in Ukraine saying the following: "Words do not work with Moscow." You know what he's talking about there as well? Donald Trump's all caps social media post. "I'm really mad at you, Vladimir Putin, I'm mad at you." Now, when you have people like Kellogg, one of Donald Trump's liaisons, who was at first the liaison to Russia and Ukraine, now just
at a CPAC event there, former U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen didn't just show up for the finger sandwiches. Oh no, she gave her full endorsement to Karol Nawrocki, a right-wing candidate who's been a little too cozy with Kremlin-friendly policies. What made it even messier was her public takedown of Rafał Trzaskowski, the pro-EU, left-leaning mayor of Warsaw, accusing him of undermining family values and traditional culture. Translation: the same culture wars Trump pushes stateside are now being exported. And here's the kicker. When a high-profile U.S. figure like Nielsen gets involved in a local political race, it's not just awkward, it's downright controversial. Experts have pointed out that this isn't just political theater. It's interference, plain and simple, and it raises serious questions about whether U.S. officials should be meddling in the first place. Imagine if this was happening in reverse. Can you picture a Polish official flying into, say, Iowa, telling farmers who to vote for in a Senate race? It wouldn't fly, right? That's what makes this stunt so eyebrow-raising. Now, just when you think CPAC couldn't get more bizarre, we find out Trump himself sent a video message to CPAC Hungary, showering love on Viktor Orban and hinting at rumors of back channels to Putin. What exactly did he say? Let's just say it's dripping in praise and raises even more questions about his international entanglements. What's more awkward than a love letter? Easy. A love letter from Donald Trump to one of Putin's closest pals, Viktor Orban. Picture this.
Minister Carney of Canada says he wants Canada to join the major European defense plan, looking away from the United States towards Europe. French President Emmanuel Macron says the following, quote, "I spoke 48 hours ago with President Trump, who expressed his impatience. The question now is, what do we do about it?" He goes on to say, "Even the so-called memorandum, which they promised and allegedly spent over a week preparing, no one has seen it yet. It has not been shared with Ukraine. It has not been shared with our partners. In the past would probably seem to be not as diplomatic with the United States president, but a credibility test.
In a pre-recorded video message to CPAC Hungary, Trump cranked up the charm and called Orbán a great man and highly respected by everybody. It was less politics and more like a fan video Orbán himself secretly commissioned. Trump didn't stop there. He went on to describe Orbán as a very, very special person and praised his leadership as brilliant. If there'd been a piano playing in the background, it could have passed as a rom-com moment. But let's talk about who this special person really is. Viktor Orbán is Hungary's prime minister and no stranger to controversy. His policies have often been called a direct challenge to the European Union's core values. Orbán's government has undermined democratic institutions, clamped down on media freedom, and embraced policies that critics say turn Hungary into an autocracy light. Oh, and then there's his friendship with Vladimir Putin. While most European leaders are putting distance between themselves and Russia because of that whole invading Ukraine situation, Orbán is still swapping friendship bracelets with the Kremlin. So, why would Trump gush over him like a starstruck teenager? Trump's endorsement of Orbán isn't just eyebrow-raising. It's alarming.
Russia is dragging out the war and doing everything it can simply to deceive the countries that are still trying to influence Moscow with words rather than pressure. And that is yet another reason why there should be sufficient sanctions sufficient to pressure Russia. Now, NATO expansion is a fair concern for Putin. I mean, Keith Kellogg used to be someone who was standing up to Putin. How embarrassing can you be there?
When one of the most divisive figures in U.S. politics heaps admiration on a leader with ties to Putin, people pay attention. Orbán's right-wing policies seem to mirror the extremes Trump endorses in his own base: anti-immigration rhetoric, attacks on LGBTQ+ rights, and a disdain for the liberal global order. By voicing his support, Trump isn't just stoking admiration. It's like he's handing Orbán a stamp of approval and telling CPAC audiences, this is what we should aim for. This isn't random. It's part of Trump's bigger effort to give a pat on the back to Europe's far right. More importantly, it's seen as a not-so-subtle dig at pro-EU leaders who oppose both Orbán and, by extension, Putin's influence. Trump isn't just picking favorites here. He's potentially reshaping alliances on a global stage, and not in a good way. CPAC isn't just about right-wing pep talks and slogan-waving anymore. With events in Poland and Hungary, it's morphing into something far bigger and far riskier. Trump's allies, like Kirstjen Nielsen, have taken the stage, openly backing candidates with questionable ties, like those friendly to Vladimir Putin. These aren't just one-off speeches. They're calculated moves to prop up leaders who challenge pro-EU policies. The real question is, how far does this go? If CPAC's international footprint keeps growing, we could see a shift in global alliances, with pro-democracy movements sidelined. So, is CPAC now a megaphone for democracy, or Putin-friendly authoritarianism?